Good morning. Well, the first guest I'm going to ask on stage is an old friend of mine, Mark Cousins, who I met in the early 90s when he was directing the Edinburgh Film Festival and was innovating lots of things at that event. And then he began a series for television in Britain called Scene by Scene, which did some very provocative interviews with directors and stars, Rod Steiger, Roman Polanski, David Lynch, and so on. And then, as Matthijs said, he's done this story of film, and we'll hear how he created these 15 hours of footage. So please welcome Mark Cousins. Thank you. And then our second guest, of course, Keanu Reeves, broke through with so many films in the early 90s, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Point Break, Speed, of course, and then the Matrix films. But we mustn't forget he was also in some very intimate films like River's Edge and My Own Private Idaho. And now he's come to the Berlinale in the role of a co-producer and interviewer. So please welcome Keanu Reeves. Great start.
Thank you.
Keanu, this represents a big change of pace for you. I mean, you're not walking up the red carpet with a big Hollywood movie. You are here with a film that you clearly believed in passionately about the transition from celluloid to digital, a specific subject. What made you do that? What brought you to that?
It started, I guess, I was working on a film called Henry's Crime, and I was acting in it and had developed the script, and we were in the post, and we were doing, there's a moment in time when you take the photochemical, then you scan it, and you do the digital intermediate, where you do the color correction. And once you finish that, then you take your photochemical, because you have to make a negative, and you match the photochemical to the digital image. And you do it in the DI suite, and you have the digital image which you've color corrected, and you have your photochemical, and they're side by side, and then you try and match them. And so what happens is you have this digital image that you can manipulate in so many different ways, and then you have a photochemical image which is not as flexible, let's say. And behind me, or in front of me, was the colorist and the timer. And they were side by side. And then there was the DP who was doing the color correction, showing me on a 5D camera. He had an image that he had taken that he'd used in a commercial, and he was like, look at this great image. I'm going to do a commercial. And I'm like, okay, and we can do this in movies. And I'm looking at this thing on a, this camera, and he's going to use that in commercials and films. I'm looking at this, digital, this photochemical film I made, which is turning into ones and zeros. And I'm hearing about all of these different digital cameras. And I'm thinking, film is dead. I've been going through the process, and I was looking at the labs, and I was thinking, wow, we should talk about this. We should find out what is going on in this moment of time. And the post supervisor, Chris Keneally, who's here today, the director of Side by Side. Where are you, Chris? There you are in the front row. We were side by side, and we were like, let's try and do something with this idea. And he was like, yeah. And so we kind of shook hands, and we were like, let's go forth and just start to see who we could talk to and cover this moment in time.
As a little aside, it sounds like a bug's life here. Could you possibly stop taking pictures now, because it's really like it's a background, jungle fever. Mark, how did your roots to the story of film, was that a similar one? As I recall, you did a book version of it, 2004, but obviously the book wasn't 15,000 pages. This is a much more ambitious version.
Yeah, I wrote the book in 2004, as you said, and I just wanted to write a passionately international, accessible history of the movies. Particularly this luminous, flickering medium. You know, I remember once interviewing Lauren Bacall, and she said, you know, the industry is shit, it's the medium that's great. And that was so true. So I wanted to do a history of the medium, not the showbiz, not the paps, or not your paps, but I just wanted to do something about the brilliance of the medium, and so I tried to tell the story of innovation in the movies in the book. And then my producer, who I think is here today, said, why don't we make a film? And I said, you're nuts. And he is nuts, but we made it, and it's 15 hours, and there are 1,000 film clips in it.
And it was shot for the big screen.
Yes, it was made for the big screen, shot and cut for the big screen. You know, when you're making any film, you have to find a style. And what I wanted to do is try and use an old, like, magic lantern style for this. And so all the images come in from the right, as if it's an old Victorian slide. There are no camera moves in the whole 15 hours of the stuff that we shot. No reverse angles. And we shot a lot at dawn and dusk, just to sort of maximize the luminosity of the image.
Well, we've got quite a few clips, so we're going to show a clip first from Keanu's film Side by Side, and I think when we've had it, we can talk about what you can tell us about those particular interviews that you did. So